He married an alien girl, not knowing he would share a bed with her sisters. Dave had always been an adventurous soul. As a skilled engineer working on intergalactic projects, he had the opportunity to travel far and wide, but he never imagined that one of his missions would change his life forever. On a diplomatic trip to the planet Jaris, he found himself falling in love with an alien woman named Arca, whose beauty and mysterious charm captivated him from the moment they met. Arca was not like anyone Dave had ever met. She was tall, with luminous silver skin that shimmered under the twin suns of Jaris. Her eyes were deep pools of violet, full of wisdom and warmth, and her voice was like a melody that calmed even the most troubled hearts. She was intelligent, graceful, and kind, a perfect match for Dave, or so he thought. The first time they spoke, Dave was introduced to the Jarisian customs and their unique culture. Jaris was a peaceful, prosperous planet with a rich history of knowledge and technology. However, they had one custom that was very different from anything Dave had encountered. Marriages on Jaris were not just unions between two individuals, but also involved their entire families. Arca explained this with a smile, though Dave couldn't quite understand at first. On Jaris, Arca had said softly, a bond is never just between two people. It is a connection that involves family, unity, and strength. When we marry, we share not only our hearts but our lives with those closest to us. Dave didn't fully understand what she meant, but he was so enamored by her that he didn't ask further questions. As days passed, their connection deepened. Arca would show him the beauty of Jaris, taking him to sparkling lakes where the water glowed like liquid stars, and teaching him the language of her people, which was filled with soft, lyrical sounds. Every day felt like a dream, and soon, Dave found himself thinking of a future with her. One evening, after a romantic walk through the lush gardens of her family's estate, Dave gathered his courage. He had never felt so certain about anything in his life. Arca, he began, his voice shaky but full of sincerity. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me? Arca's eyes widened in surprise. For a moment she didn't speak. Then a smile slowly spread across her face and she took his hands in hers. Yes, Dave. I will marry you, but there is something I must explain about our traditions before you make this decision. Dave nodded eagerly, his heart racing. He was ready for anything. He had already fallen for her and nothing could stop him now. Arca took a deep breath and began to explain. On Jaris, a marriage is not just a bond between two people. It involves my family, all of us. My sisters, we share everything together. When we marry, we join our lives with not just our partner but with the family of the one we love. It is the Jarisian way. Dave blinked, unsure if he had heard her correctly. Wait, you're saying, your sisters, like they would be part of the marriage too. Arca nodded, her expression calm. Yes, it is a sacred tradition. The family bonds are stronger when all are united and each person plays a vital role in the relationship. Dave's mind raced, trying to comprehend what she was saying. He had never heard of anything like this. Was he being asked to marry not just Arca but her entire family? He wanted to speak, but his mouth went dry. So, you and your sisters? Yes, Arca said gently, as if trying to ease his confusion. We all share a part of the marriage. It strengthens the bond between us. Dave stared at her, still trying to understand. This was not what he had imagined when he thought about a relationship with an alien, but he had already fallen for her deeply. The idea of being close to her, of making her happy, was everything he wanted. Slowly, a smile crept onto his face as he made a decision. If this is what you want, Arca, Dave said softly, then I will do my best to understand. I love you. Arca's smile grew brighter and she kissed him gently on the lips. Thank you, Dave. I knew you would understand. The ceremony was beautiful, a mixture of Jarisian rituals and human customs. Dave couldn't fully grasp all of the traditions, but he stood by Arca's side, promising to be a good husband. He felt a little out of place, but her presence made everything feel right. It was a surreal experience, and as the celebrations continued into the night, Dave couldn't help but feel overwhelmed by the strange world he had just entered. As the newlyweds walked through the grand hall of Arca's family estate, Dave noticed something that made his stomach twist: a large, ornate bed in the center of the room. The bed was huge, with enough space for more than two people. It was a traditional Jarisian marital bed, used by couples and their families during important celebrations. Dave didn't know what to think of it, but he had no time to dwell on it as Arca led him to the bed. "You'll be staying with me and my sisters tonight," Arca said softly, her hand on his shoulder. Dave froze. "What do you mean by that?" Arca's expression softened as she took his hand. "It is part of the tradition. We all share the bed to symbolize our unity." Dave was taken aback. He had been expecting a private honeymoon night, not to be surrounded by Arca's sisters. His face flushed with embarrassment, but he didn't want to appear rude. This was a different culture, after all, and he was trying to be respectful. "Well," Dave stammered, I guess I should get used to it." He gave a nervous laugh, but deep down, he wasn't sure if he could ever truly adjust to this new reality. But for Arca, he would try. As they sat down on the bed, Arca's three sisters entered the room, each one more stunning than the last. They were identical in their features, with shimmering silver skin and glowing eyes. Each of them carried a calm, serene presence, and Dave couldn't help but feel intimidated by their beauty and grace. The eldest sister, Lisha, smiled at him warmly. "Welcome to our family, Dave. We're glad you've joined us." Her words were kind, but they sent a shiver down Dave's spine. He didn't know what to expect, but he knew one thing for sure: his life would never be the same again. That night, as he lay in the bed surrounded by Arca and her sisters, Dave couldn't help but wonder if he had made the right decision. There were so many unknowns now, so many customs that he didn't understand. The warmth of the sisters beside him was comforting, but it only added to the confusion. As he drifted into an uneasy sleep, Dave realized that he had just begun a journey that would challenge everything he knew about love, loyalty, and family. The days that followed Dave's marriage to Arca were a blur of emotions. The strange customs of Jaris, the unexpected closeness with her sisters, and the complexity of their family bond overwhelmed him. At first, everything had felt like a dream, but reality was starting to hit. Arca's family had welcomed him with open arms, but as time passed, Dave began to feel like a stranger in his own marriage. The sisters, Lisha, Lyra, and Misa, were beautiful, kind, and composed, but there was a distance between them that he couldn't quite understand. Each of them seemed to have their own way of interacting with him. Lisha, the eldest, was the most direct, her piercing violet eyes always watching him with an intensity that made him uneasy. Lyra, the middle sister, was gentle and soft-spoken, always offering a warm smile, but Dave could tell there was something more beneath her calm exterior. Misa, the youngest, was playful and often teased him with light-hearted jokes, but her eyes held a mysterious depth that made Dave wonder if there was more to her than met the eye. Dave had hoped that the bond he shared with Arca would be enough to navigate through the complexities of her family. But the more time he spent with them, the more he realized that the Jarisian way of life was not as simple as he had imagined. The sisters often spent their days together, discussing matters of their planet, their people, and the traditions that bound them. Arca had explained that the Jarisian royal family, to which she belonged, had a long history of political alliances sealed through marriage. For them, family was not just a support system. It was a powerful network, one that was integral to the survival of their planet. Their customs and rituals were deeply tied to Jarisian culture, and it was clear that Dave's presence in their lives was not just a romantic gesture. He was a part of something much larger. One afternoon, Dave found himself sitting in the grand garden of Arca's family estate, his mind swirling with questions. The garden was a peaceful oasis, filled with vibrant alien flowers and shimmering fountains. He had come to the garden for some solitude, hoping to clear his head, but as he walked along the stone paths, he was approached by Lisha, the eldest of Arca's sisters. "Dave," Lisha's voice was low, almost conspiratorial. "I need to speak with you." Dave paused, sensing that this conversation was not going to be an easy one. "Sure, Lisha. What's on your mind?" Lisha led him to a quiet corner of the garden, where the sound of the fountains was drowned out by the rustling of the trees. Her violet eyes locked onto his, and for a moment Dave felt as though she could see right through him. "Listen carefully," she began. "I know you're struggling with the customs of our people. I can see the doubt in your eyes even if you try to hide it. But you must understand, Dave, that this bond between our family and you is not just about love. It's about something far more important." Dave swallowed hard. He had always known there was more to this than just a marriage, but hearing Lisha speak so directly made the weight of it all feel heavier. "What do you mean?" he asked, his voice quiet. "The Jarijan royal family is in danger," Lisha said, her voice urgent. "There are those who seek to destroy us, and they will stop at nothing to do so. Our people rely on the strength of our family unit, and your presence here, plays a key role in protecting us. You must understand, this isn't just about our traditions. It's about the survival of our planet." Dave's heart raced. He had suspected that there was something more going on, but he had never imagined it would be something this serious. "But I'm just an engineer. How am I supposed to help?" Lisha's gaze softened, but there was still a sharpness in her eyes. "You're not just an engineer, Dave. You're part of this family now, and with that comes responsibilities. You have a unique perspective. Your human ingenuity can help us, but you must be ready to act." Before Dave could respond, Lisha turned and walked away, leaving him standing there, his mind reeling. What had he gotten himself into? Arca had never mentioned anything about their planet being in danger. He knew that there were political tensions on Jaris, but this was different. This was something far more dangerous. That evening, as they sat down for dinner, Dave tried to push the conversation with Lisha to the back of his mind. But the tension in the air was palpable. Arca and her sisters sat around the table, their eyes occasionally meeting, as if they were communicating without words. Dave couldn't help but feel like an outsider, like he was intruding on something much larger than himself. "Dave," Arca said, breaking the silence, "I know things have been difficult for you. This is all so new, and I can see that it's overwhelming. But please know that we are here for you. We are a family, and we will always have each other's backs." Her words were comforting, but Dave couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The sisters' interactions with each other were too calculated, too deliberate. They weren't just a family, they were a unit, and Dave was merely a piece in their complex game. Later that night, as Dave lay in bed, his thoughts were interrupted by a soft knock on the door. It was Lisha again. "Can we talk?" she asked, her tone serious. Dave nodded, his curiosity piqued. "Of course, come in." Lisha stepped inside and closed the door behind her. She sat on the edge of the bed, her eyes not meeting his. There was a heaviness in the air, a sense of urgency that Dave couldn't ignore. "There's something you need to know," Lisha said, her voice barely above a whisper. "There are enemies within our own ranks. Traitors who are working against us. We've suspected it for a long time, but we couldn't prove it until now. One of our family, is involved." Dave's heart skipped a beat. "What? One of your sisters?" Lisha didn't answer immediately. She just stared at him, her expression unreadable. Finally, she spoke. "I can't tell you who, but you need to be careful. Trust no one, not even me." Dave felt a chill run down his spine. He had married into a family that was more dangerous than he had realized. But now he had no choice but to stay involved. The stakes were higher than ever, and his place in this world was becoming increasingly uncertain. "I don't know if I can do this, Lisha," Dave admitted, his voice shaking. "I don't know if I can trust anyone." "You can trust me," Lisha said, her voice firm. "But you must be ready for what's coming. Our enemies are closing in and they won't stop until they have what they want." As she left, Dave lay back in bed, his mind spinning. What had he gotten himself into? Arca's family was not just powerful. They were playing a dangerous game of politics, and now he was caught in the middle of it. He had married into a family with secrets, and those secrets were beginning to reveal themselves in ways he never expected. The next few days were filled with tension. Arca seemed distant, as if she were hiding something from him, and her sisters became even more guarded. The walls between them grew higher, and Dave found himself questioning everything he thought he knew about his new life. But there was one thing he was certain of. The danger was real, and it was only a matter of time before the truth came to light. The days that followed were filled with a strange, almost suffocating tension. Dave could feel the weight of the situation pressing down on him every time he stepped foot inside Arca's family home. The warmth that had once filled the house seemed to have evaporated, replaced by an air of uncertainty and distrust. Arca, though still kind, had become more distant, her eyes filled with unspoken thoughts. Lisha had warned him of the danger, but Dave still couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. He had tried to push the nagging doubts aside, focusing on his duties and trying to adapt to life with Arca and her sisters. But every time he caught a glimpse of Arca's sisters in the hallway, or when they sat around the dinner table, he couldn't help but feel like an outsider in a family he barely understood. It wasn't just the tension within the family that unsettled him. There were rumors of an invasion, talk of an alien race known as the Vrex, who were said to have been watching Jaris for years. Dave had heard snippets of conversations between the sisters, mentioning the Vrex in hushed tones, but no one would tell him anything directly. He could tell they were hiding something, and it made his skin crawl. One evening after dinner, Lisha invited Dave to meet her in the garden. The sun had just set, casting a soft orange glow over the sprawling grounds. Dave walked through the garden trying to calm his nerves. Lisha was waiting for him by the fountain, her face shadowed by the evening light. "I need to speak with you again," Lisha said as soon as he approached, her voice low and urgent. "It's time you knew the truth." Dave's heart raced. He had been waiting for this moment, but now that it was here, he wasn't sure he was ready. "What truth?" he asked cautiously. Lisha looked around, making sure no one was listening. "The Vrex are coming," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "And they're closer than we thought." Dave frowned, trying to make sense of what she was saying. "I've heard the name before, but I don't know much about them. Who are the Vrex?" "The Vrex are a brutal, warlike species," Lisha explained, her eyes dark with worry. "They have been watching Jaris for decades, waiting for the right moment to strike. They want control of our planet, our resources, our people. They believe that Jaris belongs to them. And now, they're planning an invasion. They've already infiltrated our government, our military, and possibly even our family." Dave's mind raced. "Infiltrated your family? What do you mean?" Lisha hesitated for a moment before speaking again. One of my sisters, is working with the Vrex. I don't know who, but I suspect it's someone close, someone with access to the most important decisions. The invasion is already in motion. We're running out of time." Dave took a step back, trying to process the weight of her words. "Are you sure? How do you know this?" "I've seen the signs," Lisha said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I've been watching, gathering information. I believe one of us is secretly helping the Vrex, leaking information about our defenses, about our weaknesses. I can't prove it yet, but I'm certain of it." Dave felt a chill run down his spine. He had suspected something wasn't right, but this was a whole new level of danger. "And what do you want me to do about it?" he asked, his voice tight. "I need your help," Lisha said urgently. "You're an outsider, someone who can think differently. The Vrex won't expect you to be involved. I need you to watch carefully, listen closely. There's a traitor in our midst, and we need to find out who before it's too late." Before Dave could respond, a loud bang echoed from the direction of the house. Both Lisha and Dave spun around, alarmed. The sound had come from inside the house, followed by voices shouting. "Get inside," Lisha hissed, grabbing Dave's arm. "Now." They ran back toward the house, but by the time they reached the entrance, the commotion had escalated. Arca's sisters were standing in the hallway, their faces pale, their expressions tense. The atmosphere was thick with fear. "What's going on?" Dave asked, his heart pounding in his chest. "We've been attacked," Lisha said, her voice strained. "The Vrix are here." The words hit Dave like a punch to the gut. He had suspected an invasion, but hearing it confirmed was something else entirely. Arca stepped forward, her face pale, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and determination. "We need to go," Arca said, her voice steady but urgent. "There's no time to waste. The Vrix are attacking our planet, and we need to prepare to defend ourselves." "But what about—" Dave started, but he was interrupted by the sound of another explosion, this time much closer. The house shook and dust fell from the ceiling. "They've breached the outer defenses," Lisha said quickly. "We're not safe here. We need to move now." Dave's mind was spinning. He had never been involved in anything like this before. But as the house continued to shake and the sounds of battle grew louder outside, he realized there was no choice but to act. He followed Arca and her sisters through the house, toward the hidden underground chambers that had been designed as a sanctuary in case of emergencies. As they descended into the dark, cool depths of the estate, Dave could hear the sounds of chaos above them, shouts, explosions, and the heavy thuds of boots on the ground. He couldn't help but wonder how this had happened so quickly. He had only been on Jaris for a few weeks, yet it seemed like everything had changed in the blink of an eye. They reached the underground chambers, which were much more secure than the rest of the house. But even here, the tension was palpable. The sisters began working quickly, setting up communication devices and preparing weapons for the battle ahead. "We need to get in touch with the Jarisian Defense Force," Lisha said, her voice tight with urgency. "They need to know about the traitor. We can't fight the Vrix without knowing where they're coming from." Dave stood in the corner, trying to process everything. He had married into a family that was now at war. His life, his new life, was caught in the middle of something far larger than he had ever imagined. Suddenly Misa, the youngest sister, approached him, her face pale but determined. "Dave," she said quietly, "there's something you need to know." "What is it?" he asked, his voice low. Misa's eyes darted around the room as if checking to make sure no one was listening. "I know who the traitor is," she whispered. Dave's heart skipped a beat. "Who?" But before Misa could answer, a loud explosion rattled the underground chamber, followed by the sound of footsteps rushing down the corridor. "They're here," Lisha shouted, her eyes wide with panic. "They've found us." The sisters grabbed their weapons and prepared for the fight ahead, but Dave's mind was racing. Who was the traitor? And how could he possibly help when everything was falling apart? The underground chamber was filled with tense silence, as the walls seemed to vibrate from the distant explosions and the sounds of the ongoing battle above. The sisters were already preparing for the worst, their expressions grim but determined. Dave stood in the corner, still trying to wrap his mind around everything that had happened in such a short time. His new life had turned upside down. What had begun as a dream, marrying the woman he loved, had quickly become a fight for survival. "Lisha," Arca said, her voice steady despite the panic in her eyes. "We need to act now. The Vrix are closing in on us. We can't wait any longer." Lisha, the eldest sister, nodded, her face hardening with resolve. "You're right. We've delayed long enough. It's time to face this head-on." She turned to Dave, her gaze sharp. "We need your help, Dave. This isn't just about survival. It's about the future of Jaris and your future with us." Dave's mind was a blur. He had never imagined anything like this would happen when he'd come to Jaris. His thoughts kept racing back to the warning Misa had tried to tell him before the explosion. She knew who the traitor was. But before he could ask, the Vrix had found them. Now, everything seemed to be spinning out of control. "What do you need me to do?" Dave asked, stepping forward, his voice steady but laced with anxiety. Despite his fear, he knew there was no turning back. Arca, her sisters, and the entire planet needed him now more than ever. "We need to find the traitor," Lisha said, her voice tight. "But the Vrix are already attacking. If we don't act quickly, Jairus will fall." The tension in the room thickened as the sisters began their preparations. They were skilled in combat, each with their own strengths. Lisha was a master strategist, calm under pressure, and capable of making quick, decisive decisions. Lyra, the second sister, was an expert in defensive systems, capable of controlling and managing the planet's technology. Misa, though the youngest, was fast and agile, a master of infiltration and reconnaissance. "We'll need to split up," Arca said, glancing at each of her sisters. "Lisha and I will lead the defense here. Lyra, you'll take Dave and go to the Jarisian Defense Command Center. You have to send a signal to Earth. We need backup." "Backup from Earth?" Dave asked, startled. He hadn't even thought about Earth in all this chaos. He had married Arca, and now he was caught in a war on an alien world. But Earth, his home, might be the key to saving Jairus. "Yes," Arca confirmed. "We've been in contact with Earth's leaders for some time. They've promised us support if we ask for it. This is our moment." Lyra nodded and motioned for Dave to follow her. "Come on, we don't have much time." Without a second thought, Dave followed Lyra as they sprinted through the winding corridors of the underground chambers. The walls around them hummed with energy, as automated doors sealed off sections of the estate to protect them from the incoming invasion. The lights flickered overhead, casting long shadows that added to the sense of urgency. "We need to get to the defense command," Lyra explained as they moved quickly. "It's the only place that can send a distress signal to Earth. If we can do that, we have a chance." Dave nodded, trying to process everything she was saying. He had spent his life as an engineer, but this was something entirely different. He wasn't just trying to fix machines anymore. He was trying to save a planet, and in a strange way, his new family. As they reached the command center, Lyra quickly accessed the central console, typing commands into the alien system with practiced ease. Dave watched, amazed at her skill. Lyra's fingers moved so quickly it was like watching a symphony, each keystroke purposeful and precise. "The system's been compromised," Lyra muttered under her breath. "We don't have much time before they lock us out." Dave's heart raced. "What do we do?" "Help me," Lyra snapped, her voice tense. "I need you to activate the backup power and override the system." Dave stepped forward, his mind going into overdrive as he assessed the situation. He quickly scanned the console, then began to work with Lyra to unlock the necessary systems. His engineering skills, honed through years of work on Earth, helped him find a solution. Together, they were able to bypass the security protocols and send a distress signal to Earth. "This should do it," Dave said, his breath coming faster. "They'll get it. They'll know what's happening." Lyra let out a relieved sigh. "We did it," she said. "Now we wait for Earth's response." Just as she finished speaking, the lights in the command center flickered again, and the ground shook beneath them. The Vrix had breached the outer walls, and the invasion was in full swing. The echoing sound of gunfire reached their ears, followed by the unmistakable roar of alien ships landing nearby. "We don't have time to wait," Lyra said. "We need to get back to the others." As they turned to leave, a sudden explosion rocked the building, throwing both Dave and Lyra to the floor. Dave's head hit the ground hard, and for a moment everything went black. When he came to, he was lying on the cold floor, his ears ringing. Lyra was beside him, shaking him awake. "Dave," she shouted. "Are you all right?" Dave blinked and slowly pushed himself up. His head throbbed, but he could still hear the sounds of battle outside. "I'm fine," he said, though his voice was unsteady. "But we need to move. Now." They rushed back through the corridors, but the building was in chaos. The Viriks were everywhere, storming through the halls, tearing through the defenses that had been set up. As they rounded a corner, they came face to face with a group of Virik soldiers. Lyra immediately pulled out a weapon and fired, but there were too many of them. Dave grabbed her arm, pulling her back into a nearby room. "We need to find another way out." "Right," Lyra said, her voice tight with urgency. "Follow me." They moved through the maze of the estate, avoiding Virik soldiers at every turn. Dave's heart pounded as he realized how real the danger was. Arca, her sisters, and everyone on Jaris were depending on them. He couldn't afford to fail now. Finally, they reached the underground chambers again, where the rest of the family was waiting. Arca and Lisha were already preparing for the final defense, but the stress on their faces was clear. They knew the Viriks were close to overwhelming them. "We've sent the signal," Dave said, panting as he caught his breath. "Earth's response should come soon." "That's all we can hope for," Lisha said, her voice tight with anxiety. "But we're not out of danger yet." Just as she spoke, the ground shook again, even more violently than before. The Viriks were on the verge of breaking through. Then a sudden noise echoed from the speakers above them, the unmistakable sound of Earth's military. "Earth's here," Lisha said, her voice full of hope. "They've answered our call." The sound of Earth's military forces arriving gave them the boost they needed. The Viriks were powerful, but the combined strength of Jaris and Earth's forces proved to be too much. Within hours, the tide of battle began to turn. As the fight raged on, Dave found himself fighting alongside Arca, Lisha, and the others. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about proving that they could overcome the odds. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the last of the Viriks were defeated. Jaris was safe, at least for now. Dave stood alongside Arca, her sisters, and the soldiers from Earth, all of them battered but victorious. "I didn't think we could do it," Dave said, breathing heavily. "But we did." Arca smiled, her hand resting on his. "Together, we always will." As the dust settled and the smoke cleared, Dave realized that his life on Jaris had changed forever. The love, the danger, and the battles had all shaped him into someone new. He wasn't just a human caught in an alien world. He was part of a family, a planet, and a fight that had no end. And he wouldn't have it any other way.